We're going live. Thank you guys for joining me once again. Good afternoon, good morning, whenever you watch this. I hope you're doing all right. I know I'm doing pretty well. It's right around lunchtime for me, as always, so I'm going to dig into some lunch. Thank you guys for joining me once again to, I don't know, hang out and listen to my ramblings, my musings on some random subject. Today, for lunch, I got a platter of sliders, turkey sliders. I thought they looked pretty dang good, so I picked them up with a couple of teeny tiny cherry tomatoes plunked in. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I'm still working from home. As per usual, please let me know if anything is kind of weird with the setup. If you guys are having trouble with the audio, if the video is not a high quality, something along those lines. I always want to make sure that I'm getting this thing right for you guys. I'm still working from home. We're still going to be working from home for the next several months. So as long as that's happening, I'm going to be hanging out with you guys every afternoon that I can. Today is the last day that project stuff is due for my class, so I've been working like a dog the last couple of days, so I apologize if I don't seem quite as on the ball and even a little bit more rambly and tangent going off than usual. If I'm making even less sense than usual. But I do like hanging out with you guys. So yesterday I mentioned that I'm planning on donating to charities every day this entire week. So if you guys have any suggestions for good charities to donate to, please send them to me. You can send them to my email at Steve.The.Rabbit.Eats at gmail.com. You can drop it in the chat. I dropped something in the community tab. If you guys want to respond to that, add a comment to the post that I made on the community chat. The community tab. So anything that you guys think is a worthwhile cause, I definitely want to hear from you. What causes are close to your heart? What kind of charities and nonprofits do you think deserve a little bit of extra money? All right, without any more stalling, I'm going to dig into some of these turkey sliders. I don't actually know what's on these. I think it's just cheese, turkey, and lettuce. So completely dry. That's what it looks like. I noticed that this bread was made with sugar, so I wonder if it's like a Hawaiian bread thing going on. Not too bad. That bread is pretty sweet though. So I think it is kind of like a Hawaiian style bread for these sliders, which when you're eating turkey, having a little bit of sweet on top of it actually goes pretty well. Like, you don't usually think of having sweet stuff with meat, but you know, like barbecue sauce, cranberry sauce, all that stuff is really sweet. If you like sweet pickles, some sweet radish, maybe even ketchup on your sandwiches, that's all sweet stuff. It's all got sugar in it. Since this is a little bit dry, I did whip up kind of what I call like a sandwich mix. It's just some what is this? Mayonnaise with a little bit of diced onions, diced pickle in there. It's dripping a little bit, but I think it'll add a little bit of moisture to these sandwiches in case they do get a little bit dry. Magnificent. I think it's exactly what these needed. A little bit of spiciness from the acids and stuff like that in there. Definitely make it perfect. I think you can't have a sandwich without a little bit of acid in there from some mustard or something along those lines. Eric Gunnarsson in the chat, thank you for joining me today. Asking if these are homemade. Nope, they're store brand, Safeway store brand. Picked up a pack of sliders. I have been working, like I said, I've been working like a dog on this video game for my work for the last several days. It seems like every time you put out a fire, like 2 more pop up. It's pretty incredible. But I guess things are kind of like on the glide slope to getting better and more stable and things along those lines, which is great. It seems like we consistently have like demonstration products and stuff like that that we can put out for internal demos and stuff like that. At least we do have a show coming out sometime in the not too distant future. I believe it's like an E3 replacement since E3 isn't happening this year. There's going to be some demonstrations, stuff like that coming out from Microsoft. So definitely keep your eye out for that. Lots of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. But on top of that, I've been wrapping up the spring quarter for classes, which have been just, it's been soul crushing. Oh my goodness. I've been up until, 11 p.m. or midnight every night for like, I don't know, the entire week. I think I've worked a good 80 hours, 100 hours this week. Just crushing myself. So pray for me, guys. I'm kind of dying. Frederic, thank you for joining me. I haven't seen you in a while, man. I see your comments just about every day. Always appreciate them. Says, doubt they're homemade, man. Yeah, these are totally store-bought. Sup, Steve? Good luck to finish your project. Thank you. And so you have high hopes for Halo. Yeah, man, it's we've got a totally important job. You're absolutely right. We got to nail this thing. Like I said, we're going kind of like, I feel like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Halo's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to, I feel like the formula kind of stepped away from the core fans for a while. So we're kind of like going back to making sure that the core fans, we're getting something that the core fans will really love. And that also has, the kind of wide appeal that I just think it's going to be totally awesome. I'm excited for it. I can't wait for everybody else in the world to see the game. AJ, thanks for dropping in. Says, hope you can get a vacation. Oh my God. Yesterday, I took a vacation day just so I could work on schoolwork. So, yeah, instead of like splitting it, so I was working on a work for 8 hours and then schoolwork for 6 hours. No, it was just 14 hours straight, just working on schoolwork, wrapping everything up. I need a good sleep, guys. I'm so tired. I am absolutely exhausted. It has definitely been impacting my like health and fitness. Like I can definitely feel that I'm a little bit flappier than usual. I'm not able to work out quite as much as I want to. I mean, it's rough, but we're getting it done. So, yeah, wish me luck, guys. But yeah, don't worry too much about my plight. Like I said at the top of the stream today, I think there are a lot of people out in the world that have it a lot worse than I do. So if anybody does have any, I'm going to reiterate, anybody that does have any suggestions for charities that deserve a little bit of extra money, definitely let me know. At the end of the stream today, I'll go over a couple and probably make a donation. We'll see what goes. All right, so one topic that is I get questions about every now and then, and that is like something that's kind of a topic of discussion. It's been a frequent topic of discussion for years now in diet communities, is what the role of fat is, and like the recommendations of kind of go back and forth of, oh, you should eat all fat all the time, don't worry about it, saturated fat is great, and then, oh, saturated fat is terrible, it's the most awful thing in the world, you need to limit your butter intake, you need to limit your bacon intake, stuff like that. And I can totally understand how when you're getting these kind of mixed signals from like media and from the supposed experts out there, it can be super confusing for a lot of folks. So I thought it'd be cool to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I learned. Because, a couple of years ago, I did go like hardcore ketogenic for a while to try to kick a sugar addiction. And then I stayed really low carb on a pretty high fat diet for quite some time, for several months, to try to improve my metabolic efficiency so that I could race Ironman a lot better. And along the way, man, I learned a lot. I gotta say, it was kind of like back and forth between, like trying to find good information and then trying to experiment myself and screwing up and iterating on this process until I kind of got it right. So I know every now and then people ask me, like, what are my credentials? What kind of authority do I have to speak about these kinds of topics? You know, like, man, I got my credentials from the School of Hard Knocks. Like, I screwed up so many times. Learned the stuff that works the hard way by making a lot of mistakes. So if you look at like the biophysiology kind of aspect of fat metabolism, you know, it's pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I did get a genetic test several years ago that showed that apparently I have the gene that expresses itself such that I store saturated fat more readily than most people instead of burning it for energy, like is typical with a lot of people. So I don't have like, what is it called? Familial hypercholesteremia, where high cholesterol and high saturated fat diet would just kill me immediately. But I do have a propensity to store fat when I do eat a high fat diet. So I don't eat a high fat diet too much anymore for a mix of like, mostly because a ketogenic diet is really restrictive and kind of boring in my opinion. So I do like having the variety, the opportunity to eat anything that I want, you know, in decent moderation on, like I mentioned a while back, on what I like to call the vegan diet, where it's kind of like vague recommendations, kind of vague on the stuff that I really eat. So one of the super popular things everybody eats, gets a lot of airtime on a ketogenic diet, is coconuts, coconut oil, that kind of stuff. And I thought it'd be cool to take a look. This is nutritiondata.self.com, an awesome website for finding the nutritional information about just about any food. And right now I'm looking at the page for vegetable oil coconut. Let's see, in 100 grams, I'm looking at the serving size is 100 grams, is 862 calories. That's this guy right here. And now remember, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Pardon me. So 100 grams of oil is about as much fat, or about as much calories as you can possibly get in the smallest possible. Like, it's the most calorie dense food that you can possibly eat, basically. Let's see, the fatty acid profile of coconut oil, which is pure coconut fat. It is super high in that saturated fat, that in those medium chain triglycerides, which is another term that you might have heard if you're familiar with the ketogenic diet. So if you look at it, the main components of this fat are basically these 4 guys right here: the 6, 8, 10, and 12 chain triglycerides. I believe that's basically like how big the triglyceride molecule or the fat molecule actually is in coconuts. But it looks like about half, over half of the fat, the saturated fat in coconut, is this 12 chain, which I've got the medium chain triglyceride Wikipedia page pulled up just for reference. So that's lauric acid, which, you know, for folks that are not familiar with medium chain triglycerides, like I said, they're very popular in a ketogenic diet because MCTs are more readily burned for energy. Like, your body isn't very efficient at storing it as calories. So if you do eat a lot of medium chain triglycerides, then it basically like teaches your body how to burn fat really efficiently without being able to store it particularly well. So it is kind of like this cool tool that you can have in your tool belt if you want to, if you feel like you're getting a little bit too dependent on sugar, stuff like that. Now, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because, like I said, coconut oil is a huge component of it is this 12-chain lauric acid, which unfortunately, what makes a medium chain triglyceride is just that it's shorter than a long chain triglyceride and longer than a short chain triglyceride. That's it. There's nothing else there. It just so happens coincidentally that your body is not so easy, or is not able to digest it and store it as fat quite as easily as the short or long chain triglycerides. I think it's mainly the long chain triglycerides that are what's most common in people's diets. Short chain triglycerides, not quite as common. So the reason that I wanted to say that is the MCTs that your body has a really hard time digesting, or I should say has a really hard time storing as fat and is more easily digested as energy, are just the capric acid and the caprylic acid, just these two, the 8 and 10 chains. So the lauric acid, so even though coconut oil is technically like, what is it, 60, 70% medium chain triglycerides, it's mostly this lauric acid, which, like I said, your body digests more like it would digest a long chain triglyceride. So it doesn't actually give you the benefits of like an MCT oil that's derived from palm oil or something like that. So it's kind of interesting the way that that works. Fortunately, just eating a lot of fat in general and having a limited carbohydrate diet does make your body more efficient at burning fat. I mean, if you think about it, it really makes sense. Like, if all you eat are carbs and sugar, then your body gets really good at burning carbs and sugar for energy. But if all you eat is fat, then your body gets really good at burning fat for energy. Like, it's pretty simple when you think about it. not rocket surgery, as they might say. Oh my gosh. So coconut oil is something that I actually do like, mainly because it is so high in saturated fats that it doesn't oxidize very easily. Like you can store coconut oil at room temperature for like years and it won't go rancid. And that's not the same as like olive oil or flaxseed oil or polyunsaturated fatty acid, something along those lines. So I do like coconut oil. I'm not going to poo-poo on it too much, but I think that people do get it a little bit wrong when they say that coconut oil is great for ketosis. Not really true. Now, like I said, monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids are different from saturated fatty acids, which is basically, it describes how many, oh gosh, how should I say it? It describes how many open bonds there are for oxygen to attach to, something along those lines. I'm sure I butchered that. Anybody who's more familiar with like the exact chemistry probably knows it better than I do. But basically, it's what causes fats and oils to go rancid is when it oxidizes, and that's when oxygen that's ambient in the air attaches to it, and that's basically like, well, that's bad. Like I'm not entirely sure how else to describe it. Like oxidation is basically the same process as when something rusts, or it's a slower process that's similar to when something burns. A lot of people will say that burning or explosions are rapid oxidation. That's basically the same thing. Well, it's basically like deterioration, I guess it's a good way to put it. So if you have a saturated fatty acid, that means that there's no places on the molecule for oxygen to attach to it, so it takes a very long time for it to go rancid, for it to go bad. A monounsaturated fatty acid has only one open spot for oxygen to attach to it, so it does go bad after a while, but it tends to be a pretty slow process. So like you can have olive oil, for example, which is really high in monounsaturated fatty acids, just on your counter for a couple of months, and it's not going to go bad. But polyunsaturated fatty acids are the one with 2 or more open slots for that oxygen. And those are the ones that are like your omega-3 fatty acids, flax oil, fish oil, stuff like that. If you think like if you put a fish out on the counter, that's going to go bad pretty dang quick. And that's the reason why it's not a good idea to buy fish oil and flaxseed oil in plastic bottles unless it's refrigerated. So that kind of stuff does definitely need to be refrigerated. If you get the glass bottles, the dark glass bottles on the shelf, those are usually pretty good as long as they're packed with nitrogen. Because if the bottles are packed with nitrogen, then basically there's just no oxygen in there to oxidize and to make that fat go rancid. So that's why you only need to refrigerate those kinds of things after you open the bottle. Now, oxygen can permeate most plastic bottles. So probably not a good idea to get a plastic bottle of, say, omega-3 fish oil capsules. That are just sitting on a shelf, because those capsules are probably going to be rancid. Like, it's pretty bad. Oh my goodness. And anytime I run out of words to say, I just shove some food in my mouth, and I can stop speaking for a second while my mind catches up. So anyway, like I said, if folks are like super interested in like kind of the biohacking side of things, getting the most out of their medium chain triglycerides, it's better to go with an MCT oil, since those tend to be higher concentration of the, what was it called, capric and caprylic acid. Now, like I've mentioned before, I'm not super prone to endorsing one company over another. But one example of MCT oil, you can get MCT oil from plenty of different places. Now Foods has a great MCT oil. What else? There are plenty of others. But one is Bulletproof, the brand owned by... his name escapes me. Dave Asprey? Dave Asprey, yes. Owns Bulletproof brand. And he has a really interesting formulation where he has a couple of different medium chain triglyceride oils, MCT oils, that you can get. Let's see. One of these is called Brain Octane Oil. Let me read some of the description here. And the other one is called XTC Oil. So it looks like XTC oil is the cheaper brand. I remember one of these is like super concentrated caprylic acid, which is supposed to be like the best of the MCTs. Here we go. His Brain Octane oil is 100% caprylic acid triglycerides from coconut oil. So it's like that one specific MCT oil that's really extracted. So this is definitely super highly processed stuff. Like, this is not raw, organic, unprocessed, etc., etc. This is really processed. Like, so if you don't mind the super high processed stuff, it's some interesting stuff. I think it's interesting that I'm seeing Bulletproof brand show up in like Walmart. And Fred Meyer, just regular stores like that. So this is stuff that you can find like basically anywhere. Unfortunately, it is super pricey. Look at this, 16 ounces for $25 compared to like, I don't know, 16 ounces of coconut oil might cost $5, something like that. So it is pricey stuff, but if you want to find out more about it, I think, like I said, Now Foods does an MCT oil that I really like. I've seen a lot more store brand MCT oils that seem to do a pretty good job. But if you do want to get like the Cadillac, the best of the best, you can't go wrong with Bulletproof. I'm not gonna endorse it. I'm not like super dogmatic about one brand over another, but it's just one example. Let me catch up on some of these comments. Zepiush, thank you for joining. Asking about Edwards pies. Yeah, no Edwards pies today. I've got turkey pies, kind of. I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, I'm gonna say it's turkey pie. Oh my gosh. I am super happy with this like sandwich spread stuff that I made. And Frederic got a couple of comments. Say that keto is a very interesting diet that excludes all fruits and can't be sustainable. Yeah, I mean it's really difficult to sustain a ketogenic diet. I think you got to be careful with saying that it excludes all fruits. It's basically that it excludes anything that would knock you out of a state of ketosis. So like, since I'm a hard charging athlete and I do a lot of cardio exercise, I can eat 100 grams, 200 grams of carbs a day and probably still maintain ketosis. Um, but yeah, I've found that it is very restrictive, and the big problem with a ketogenic diet is that you tend to miss out on a lot of micronutrients more than anything else. So what you see happens is people go on a keto diet and they feel really great because it does give them this like super level, this super like steady level of energy is constantly no dips, no valleys, no peaks, nothing like that. Just always feel kind of on point, like you can focus really, really well. And people feel great on it for like 4 weeks or 8 weeks. But then, unfortunately, that's about as long as your body is able to sustain itself off of stored micronutrients in your liver. Let's see, the liver is where most of the vitamins and minerals are stored. And I think there's also some minerals stored in your bones. But after, like I said, 4 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there, your body's going to run out, and then you'll start to run into problems. Frederic, you ask if I would know the cons of a low-fat diet on hormones, satiety, skin, hair, stuff like that. It's another interesting subject. The main problem, again, main problem with a super low-fat diet, if you're on like what's it called? A Katavan diet, something like that. It can definitely work. The main problem on a low-fat diet is one way you can split up the micronutrients. Again, it's usually a micronutrient deficiency that you run into, is that some micronutrients, some of the vitamins and minerals are what's called water soluble, which means that if you take them on an empty stomach, your body's going to absorb them just fine. But other vitamins and minerals are fat soluble. So if you eat them without also eating fat alongside them, then your body's going to flush them out. Your body's not going to be able to absorb them. I'm trying to think of a good example of a vitamin. Let's see, vitamin C is water soluble, so that's one that you can take on an empty stomach just fine. But vitamin D, for example, is fat soluble. So if you don't have a little bit of fat, or if you don't eat something along with, say, a vitamin D supplement, or whatever foods that you're eating that are high in vitamin D, say mushrooms or whatever, or if you're drinking fortified milks, then your body's just not going to be able to absorb the vitamin D. So that's one of the things that I've always thought was a little bit strange with fat-free salad dressings. It's like you eat a salad to get lots of vitamins and nutrients and stuff like that, but if it's fat-free, then you're just not going to be able to absorb it. It's an interesting subject. I don't know a ton about low-fat diets. I feel like that was kind of a fad. Like, it was a big thing for a long time. So there's lots of stuff out there for other people to look up if they want to. So I just never found it super interesting. So I got into keto and low carb stuff like back in 2013, so like way before it was cool. So I thought it was like super interesting stuff. Nowadays, it is kind of like turning into a bit of a fad thing. AJ, I love that comment. Now, being on a diet where you can eat butter wrapped in bacon and not an apple sounds suspect to me. It's pretty bad. One thing about it is that if you do overeat fat, your body is able to store it as adipose tissue so much more efficiently than if you overeat just carbohydrate. Like, if you're on a pure carbohydrate diet, your body's only able to store something like 2% of it as adipose tissue. But if you eat a pure fat diet and you overeat, all the calories that you overeat get stored on your body at a rate of like 80% or something. Like, it's super high. Your body is really great at storing fat as adipose tissue. The danger is when you eat both of them in conjunction, and you do overeat your calories. Then your body is basically going to burn the carbohydrate that you're eating and store the fat like 100%. So that's where the real problem comes. Logan, thank you for joining the chat. Glad you're able to make it. New name in the chat, so thank you for joining. You say, I can subscribe. Yes. All subscriptions, all subscribes are definitely 100% appreciated. Lil Gucci, thank you for joining thank you for joining the live stream and joining the chat. And you ask, can you please give me tips to gain weight and height? I'm 11 and I am 66 pounds. Yeah, bro, I don't think I can help you out with that. You're going to have to go with, I don't know, something like a pediatric, maybe, dietary Yeah, I don't know much about that. You'd have to get some specific help. I tend to dabble in generalizations and looking at the big picture, so not super great at helping individuals. I would have to have a lot more details on your situation to give you specific advice. All right. It has been about a half an hour. Looks like I'm turning around on 30 minutes exactly. So, one of the charities that was suggested to me to look into was HopeLink. I have not heard of HopeLink. Let's take a look at it. Let me see here. HopeLink. What is HopeLink? I want to find out more about it. Since 1971, HopeLink has served homeless and low-income families, children, seniors, etc., and people with disabilities in King and Snohomish counties. Okay, so it looks like it's a local charity. Cool. HopeLink's mission is to promote self-sufficiency for all members of the community. I think that sounds great. Like, I'm already 100% on board with what these guys are trying to do. Let me see. Their programs and services, they provide a network of critical social services for a number of different programs, including housing, transportation, family development, family assistance, employment programs and education, financial literacy training, and 5 food banks. Oh my goodness. So it looks like these guys are trying to do just about anything. Cool. Well, this was suggested to me on one of the social media outlets, so I think I'm going to make a donation to these guys. 100%. I would like to donate $100. Give me $100. We are going to donate to... Ooh, that's a tough one. Employment services. I think food assistance. We need to help the people who are most in need, and that's people with food assistance. All right. I'm going to fill in these details off screen so that folks don't see, I don't know, personal stuff about me. And while I do that, I'm going to keep on talking into this microphone so that it doesn't look like I'm just not paying attention to the live stream at all. Because, you know, when I stop talking and try to focus on something else, it becomes a little bit difficult. That's all right. Talking, la-di-la-di-la, filling in credit card information. All right, here we go. HopeLink. Gonna click the donate button. Boom! Come on, loading. Come on, do it. You can do it. Yay, look at that. All right, great. So today, on June 9th, I donated $100 to HopeLink to help out people in my community in Snohomish and King County with food insecurities. Cool. So I'm gonna, if you're not entirely sure what's going on, you should check out the live stream yesterday where I talked about where I came into a little bit of money. So I am perfectly happy to give that away to people who need it more than I do. And like I mentioned, I'm planning on doing that, donating $100 to a different charity every single day this entire week. So if anybody has a cause that is close to their hearts that they think is really important, please let me know. You can send me an email, SteveThe.Rabbit.Eats @gmail.com. You can leave a comment. You can leave a comment in the community post that I made. And that'll help, I don't know, buy me indulgences for all the scummy things that I do. Help out the people in need, basically. It'll help out the people in need. That'll make me feel better about myself. So yeah, if you guys do have a suggestion for a charity or nonprofit or something like that I should look into, definitely drop me a line. Let me know. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm going to finish off a couple more of these sandwiches, and I hope you guys have an awesome week. Hope you're staying healthy. if I can speak. Hope you're staying healthy. Hope you're staying happy. Hope you're, letting people know that you care. Hope you're helping out the people around you. Thank you guys so much. And until tomorrow, peace out. You guys have a good one. Oh my goodness. It's been a long week already.